Welcome back, everybody. This is WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. You're listening to The Main Event. He's Mike Zahn, and I'm Zach Gelb. Take you up until noon Eastern Time, where the Temple Sports Hour comes your way. The Flyers opened up their season last night down south in Tampa and had a 3-2 loss in overtime. The 3-on-3 hockey was very exciting in the extra session. Let's go out to the phone lines right now and welcome in the color analyst for Flyers hockey on 97.5 The Fanatic, and that's Steve Coates. Coatesy, how are you, my friend?
Outstanding. How are you guys doing today?
Well, we're doing great, and we appreciate you giving us a few minutes today. Man, that was some fun hockey last night, especially in that extra session, and the Flyers are the first team to experiment with that 3-on-3 hockey in the extra period. That was some really fun stuff. It looked like the NHL got it right.
I think they did after 10 years. I think after 10 years of watching 4-on-4, now all of a sudden we've got this excitement. It's a team element where you still have to have people rolling over the boards, and I'll tell you what, it was a horse race. The big question now is that the coaches, are they going to continue to play 2 forwards and 1 defense, or are they going to go, whoa, we don't want all these breakaways. Let's have 2 defensemen back and 1 forward. So it'll be interesting. It's a work in progress, but boy, it was sure exciting.
Last night, the Flyers did get a penalty shot in the extra period, and they weren't able to convert. They got 2 penalty shots, actually, in that game, 1 in regulation as well. We know the Flyers do struggle in the shootout, and they didn't have success last night on the penalty shot. How do you change that? How do they try to improve in that department?
All you can do is practice. And you know what? There's certain people that just have that knack for the penalty shots. I don't really like the way that they take penalty shots now. You shouldn't be able to put on the brakes or turn sideways and things of that nature. I mean, it used to be that your penalty shot, you had to continue to go forward, and what they've made it's kind of a gimmick now, especially for the shootout to be entertaining. It's really hard on the goalies. But you can't do anything else but practice it every night, or every day. Most teams at the end of practice will line up and they'll make it a competitive thing and go both ways on both goalies, and all you can do is just keep trying. I mean, there's no special thing for being a good shootout guy outside of just practicing.
We're talking to the color analyst for the Philadelphia Flyers on 97.5 The Fanatic, Steve Coates. But everyone in the city knows you as Coatesy. And Coatesy, what did you see from the 33-year-old defenseman last night, Evgeny Medvedev? He seems to be transitioning to the North American style of rink quite well. It's obviously a smaller rink. What did you see from him last night?
I saw a guy that looked like he'd been here for 5 years. He's got a talent. I mean, usually, especially at the, he's been a veteran of international hockey, but to come over and not look out of place from day one, and not only that, I mean, he actually looks impressive where he jumps up in the play, does good things. I thought the whole hockey club played like that last night, and I think that defense, Medvedev does things that a veteran defenseman is going to help this hockey club with. I mean, he's a guy that is really going to be a mainstay back there. But it was just a good night. They deserved better because they played very well.
Completely agreed, and I think that we've obviously already talked about 3-on-3 hockey, but that's not the only major rule change. We now are allowing coaches challenges. So far, NHL coaches are 2 for 2. What do you think about that rule change?
I'm all right with it, I guess. The interference, goaltending interference that Babcock called the other night, I didn't think was goaltending interference. But I guess times have changed, and I'm in a bit of a dinosaur because it used to be that incidental contact with a goalie. In other words, if the goalie's looking one way and you're looking the other and you accidentally hit the goalie, that was incidental and it wouldn't have been a penalty or it would have been goaltending interference. But now they just don't want anybody touching the goalie, which amazes me because the goalie's got more equipment than everybody. It's just fascinating to me. If you run into the goalie on purpose, yeah, it should be goaltending interference, but there's a lot of activity down there, and I think they're starting to take a little bit more of the body contact and the really pushing and shoving to get to the net. But the other night, the offside call, I like that because if it's an offside, it's a human error, and that should be called. So I think the one timeout's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree that Evander Kane goal getting negated, but it was true that it was offside, and I think it's really cool that they are able to look back and now review that. Getting quickly back to the 3-on-3, there's a lot of great Flyers players right now on this team, a lot of competitive players. If you were to have your dream 3 out there on the ice for 3-on-3, what would you diagram if you were coach?
Well, it would be Jerome Voracek and either Streit or Delzato. But the circumstance now is that you got so many breakaways last night. Not only breakaways, but 2-on-0 breakaways. So I think we've got to understand that everybody has to be aware of what's going on around them because it's so exciting. It's so fast. The players are so fast that they get caught up in the offensive part of it, and then they look and they go, oops, look at those two guys going the other way. That's why I think that the coaches are, if you invent a rule or you come up with something new, usually the coaches will come with something that will be able to at least combat that wide open, let's say, breakaway type hockey. So I would still think, because I'd like to score goals and win, because we're not, I said this last night on the air, because we're not a very good shootout team, you got to win in the 5-minute overtime. You got to get it done. There's a lot of teams that are better shootout teams that they're going to be 3-on-3, so they're going to try to stall you. These are the things that are all going to be worked out, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to be interesting what the 3-on-3 looks like by Christmas.
No doubt about that. We're spending a few minutes with Coatsy, Steve Coates, Flyers color analyst on 97.5, The Fanatic. New coach for the Flyers, and Dave Haxtell. He comes over from the college ranks. Why was Haxtell the right hire for the Flyers?
Well, he was a right hire because he comes with a great track record at the University of North Dakota. Nothing but winning. Being the head coach at the University of North Dakota in hockey is like being the head coach at Michigan or Alabama or something like that in football. That's how big a program that is, and that's how successful that program has been. College hockey is a little bit more upbeat. And last night, if you watched the way we played, especially in the third period, we didn't sit back and try to hang on. We went after them. We were sending two guys in. We were doing the forecheck. The pinching that our defense did was spectacular. I mean, that's the difference, where instead of sitting back, we were being aggressive in the offensive zone, and it really helps the forwards. You know, the forwards, you go in and you work your tail off. You're down in the corner. You're getting beat up. You're trying to make a play, and all of a sudden the puck comes halfway back down the boards, and the defenseman's backed off already into the center. That just is very depressing for a forward. This time, last night, if you saw both sides, and everybody was doing it, all six defensemen were very aggressive. Their timing was good. And on top of that, the high forward was back. So that's coaching. That's the difference in philosophy. A lot of coaches go on the road. They're playing against a Tampa Bay Lightning team that's one of the best in the National Hockey League. They try to play it close to the cup. They didn't do that last night. That's what made it entertaining, and that's why it was exciting, and I think that there's something to be excited about.
I was impressed last night with the Flyers, especially going up against the team that got to the Stanley Cup final last year and the Tampa Bay Lightning that did lose to Chicago. But will that be a period of adjustment for Haxtell from going to the college game to the pro game?
Well, I think he's the first guy to admit that it's going to be a work in progress. The game of hockey is still the game of hockey. You don't play as many games at the college level. You're playing about 50%. You're only playing weekends. And it's kind of run and gun. It's always been run and gun. I mean, they had no red line back when I played, and I don't want to tell you what year that was. But the game's the game, and I think that he's adjusted very nicely. If in the first game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, that was indicative of what we've got to look forward to, then you've got nothing but up from here.
The Flyers over the last 2 years have been a slow-starting team. Is there anything you could do in the offseason to try to prevent that start, and what has Haxtell been doing?
No, I don't think you do anything different. I mean, you come in and it's a mentality. I mean, the cap and contracts, long-term contracts, can affect the mentality, especially in the preseason, where the veterans just don't. They just want to get through the preseason healthy and get ready to play. And I think this year, from the way that the guys played in preseason and the way they played last night, I think they understood that the last 2 years have not been a very good situation as being prepared. Like 2 years ago when Peter Laviolette was fired 3 games into the year. It was just a bad camp that year, and it never really recovered. So if you take a look at this year's camp, I think everybody was put on notice. There was a new coach. There was a new sheriff in town, and everybody fell into place. So that's just the attitude. You can't do anything else but change the attitude.
Now, we're not going to overanalyze one game. It was one game, and I think the Flyers played pretty well. Their first power play wasn't so strong. Second power play, a lot more impressive, as they did get a power play goal. There's a lot of unforeseen circumstances and scenarios such as injuries that may occur, but what are the realistic expectations moving forward for this Philadelphia Flyers team?
Well, I think Medvedev will get better. I think that our defense, because of the way they played last night, I think Nick Schultz, every one of them. I mean, everybody was strong, and you're going to have changes because of injuries and things of that nature. It's a marathon, not a track, a 100-yard dash. But I think that last night before the game, we talked about the key. We know what we got in the Drew line. We know what we got in the Belmar line. But what we need to have is the Shins, Humbergers, Reeds, Couturiers to contribute to what we believe that they should be able to contribute. And if that's the case, and that was the case last night. I mean, Humberger played well, Reed played well, Couturier played well, Shen played well. So if those guys fill that void that we question, this team should have a continual growth under the new head coach if the attitude stays the same. And his system, which, boy, last night was very impressive, continues to grow in this hockey club.
Coachy, before we let you run, final one here on the way out with the color analyst for the Flyers on 97.5, the Fanatic, Steve Coates. This Metropolitan Division is very deep. They could possibly send 5 teams to the playoffs this year. Who do you think the best team is in that division?
New York Rangers. I know Tampa Bay beat them last year, but I just like the New York Rangers. They play very complete. The Tampa Bay Lightning they got small forwards. They try to beat with their speed. They got big defensemen. But I think the Rangers and Tampa are right there, very, very close together. I think the Islanders are very good. I really do. They got the scoring. They got better defensively. They got better in net. So they're going to be awful tough, too. I have a question about Pittsburgh because I understand that they're Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel now all together, but I think that, they're very front-end loaded. So whether they have the depth to continue and score goals at the other end as compared to the top guys, that would be a question to me. But I think those are the teams that I really look like, Rangers and Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Coach. And Washington, you want to throw Washington, but they're kind of like, yeah, they're good this year, but they never really do anything.
Coachy, this was a whole lot of fun. We appreciate a few minutes today. Thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It's always good.
There's Steve Coates, Flyers color analyst on 97.5, The Fanatic. Always great stuff with him, and every answer has so much thought to it, and he just has that level of excitement. And I'm a Rangers fan, you're an Islanders fan. I know people won't like that here in Philadelphia, so that last answer to his question did make me feel a little bit good, and I even saw a nice big smile on your face. But Coatesy just brings that certain level of excitement. He's one of those really good announcers that just brings a great perspective to the game.
Well, he's invited on our show anytime when he gives out answers like that. But no, seriously. I think that he mentioned, and I loved it, that the biggest question mark is this Penguins team. They go out and they make these big moves, and I've been saying it since they made the Kessel trade. A few years back, the Penguins win the Stanley Cup in 2009. Then they try and improve. They want to stay up there. So what do? They acquire a guy like James Neal. Now they're top heavy. What do? They then get rid of James Neal because they think they need more depth. And then they say, oh, we have too much depth. Let's trade that depth for Phil Kessel. And now it's one game, but they didn't score last night. And this is just a team that there's not many excuses. You got to score any given game. You got to put up at least 2 or 3 goals. They put up 0.
They have underachieved, and they should have more than one cup than what they have with this core and the nucleus. And it just seems like last year in the playoffs, Fleury was playing at a good pace. Offense couldn't score.
Yeah, he wasn't
then there's
bad
been
in that
other
series.
years when the offense has been scoring at a ridiculous pace. Fleury just can't keep up. I know we were talking with Coates, who I think is a great announcer, but we all know the best announcer in sports is Mike Doc Emmerich. And you showed me this clip. I have to get to it right now. Pierre Maguire was telling a story, and Doc just had one of the cheesiest laughs I've ever heard in my life. So here it is from the opening night, Rangers and Blackhawks.
And there's number 72, and he came into this building this summer with some of the Blackhawks management. He looks up at the number there. That's 72 and 10. That's what the Chicago Bulls were that year. And he said, hey, my number's up in the rafters.
Well, between the ages of 5...
Are you serious? He just...
That's professionalism.
And I love Doc the most. I've met him numerous times. He's been a great friend to the show. He's come on the show many times. But...
That's professionalism. That is someone who understands the craft. He's going to keep the continuity
But
going.
it was so delayed. It was like a 7-second delay.
You know what?
It's like radio.
You and I both agree. Pierre is great at what he does. He is awesome.
Oh, he's a thesaurus of hockey.
And he shares everything he knows. But there are just sometimes he has these stories and anecdotes, and you think to yourself, "Oh man, come on, Pierre. I mean, did you really just say that?" But so I'll give Doc all the credit in the world. That's professionalism. That's a guy who understands and is going to try his best to keep that broadcast going and not make anyone realize it. Because listen, you and I were both watching the game, and I didn't remember watching it or hearing that, I should say. I had to look back on. You remember hearing that?
Yes, I remember seeing it at the time, and then I just never brought it up again because it's a game one of the hockey season.
Yeah.
And then you showed it to me today, and I go, yeah, I remember this. So
Yeah,
it was
funny.
I will say, though, I wish we had this about a few weeks ago because then we could have just been like Penn State's offensive line.
Look at you.
Christian Hackenberg.
So
and all
creative.
That stuff. All right, time to WHIP Studios is 11:33. He's Mike Zahn. I'm Zach Gelb. We're going to put the Flyers talk on the back burner for a bit because it is a football Friday. Still to come are our college and NFL picks. We still have to break down this entire Temple football game, but when we get back, we're going to go down south again and bring in Hokie Gajan, who is the Saints color analyst.